Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the Edijester. How are we, everyone? Yes, we continue on. 'Tis a Friday. And I'm ready here with my coffee to gabble at you for a bit. Now, absolutely wonderful to see my warrior teachers this week on my heaviest teaching week and how terribly excited they are by the news that we've had from For Women Scotland. And we can all be very thankful for the work that those women have done and very thankful that the courts saw sense and didn't just see sense in part, but completely and absolutely. It's a quite extraordinary judgment and one that I think will make a huge difference. However, it's seen the most incredible backlash, and not least of all from companies and organisations that should know better. Unison, the union, for example, UCU, Lloyds Bank, and they're all doubling down on their support for the special people. It's quite extraordinary to watch, but I think it's indicative of a far greater problem that we have in that this cult, which is what it is, let's start calling it what it is now not showing signs of a death throw, but is in fact, I think, escalating in what appears to me to be abusive behaviour. Now, that's fine, well and good and dandy, and you can all discuss that and let me know what you think in the doobers as usual. But what I've got first of all is something that I thought was rather lovely from the marvellous Claire Fox, Baroness Fox, as you will know her, from the April the 16th, 2025. Baroness Fox, as you know, is responsible for the Academy of Ideas programme, as well as being a staunch supporter of the work being done in this field in the House of Lords, where she is able to speak and to, in many ways, articulate very well what the problems are and what should be done about them. So this is from the Academy of Ideas, and the links are all in the doopers as usual. Now, before we do this, please do come and be a warrior teacher. We're starting in a week or two. I'll put some more adverts and stuff up so everybody knows about it. And then after that, that will be the last one then till October. It's time for a break. So here we go from the Academy of Ideas. 3 cheers for Women Scotland. Biological reality is back. Yay! Say it loud, say it proud. Biological reality is back. After today's fantastic victory for women's rights in the UK Supreme Court, the onus is on us to make it more than just a legalistic piece of paper. It feels ridiculous that as a society we have to thank the Supreme Court for re-establishing biological reality. We all know what a woman is, but stating the bleeding obvious has in recent years been enough to get many people, good people, cancelled. Their reputations dragged through the mud as they are routinely demonised as bigots. And for women, single-sex spaces have been compromised by the presence of men, all because unclear laws, a cowardly political class, and an array of institutions flaunting their progressive trans-inclusive policies have allowed the presence of a piece of paper, a gender recognition certificate, to be enough to overthrow biology and common sense. Wonderfully put, opening paragraph there. It's particularly interesting because yesterday's session with the warrior teachers was about the subject of cults. And they remarked last night, which I thought was very interesting indeed, as I finished my last session at about 10:30, that there is a direct link from historic cults going back a very, very long time and their behaviour to the behaviour that we are seeing today from many of those who are either involved in the EDI, DEI industry or are slavish adherents of critical social justice, gender ideology, critical race theory, queer theory. The behaviour is almost that of an abusive ex or an abusive partner who doesn't get their own way. And I think that's what we're going to see. This is going to unfold in the way you'd expect a cult to unfold. But it certainly resembles most, to me, the Skopje of Russia in the 18th century, who believed in genital mutilation and flesh sacrifices. The resonance is there. You can't help but notice it once you start to look. Claire continues, so when Lord Hodge, the Deputy President of the UK Supreme Court, read in a deadpan, serious tone the words, read fairly, references to sex in this provision can only mean biological sex. People are not sexually oriented towards those in possession of a certificate. I fist bumped and cheered, says Claire. You can read the full judgment and case summary for Women Scotland Limited versus the Scottish ministers here. And there's a link there if you want to go and take a further look yourself if you've not yet done so. Without being churlish, and while delighted that today biological reality is confirmed in UK law, I resent needing to thank the judiciary for this victory. Every word of the unanimous, unequivocal court ruling shouldn't need saying. Sex is binary and immutable. A woman is an adult human female and would have been even if the court had stated otherwise. You shouldn't need a landmark ruling to know and be safe to state that men cannot be lesbians. That is true no matter what any court rules. And while today I may thank the Lord for sensible Supreme Court justices, it shouldn't undermine another reality. Women's rights, all rights, need to be fought for from bottom up. And that is what has happened here. When it comes to thanks, those that really should be reserved for the courageous grassroots campaign for Women Scotland, started by Susan Smith, Marion Calder and Trina Budge. There's a link there, brackets, watch Susan and Marion in action at the Battle of Ideas Festival below, which is where I first met them. Marvellous women. As eloquently explained by Susan Dalgetty earlier today, they have sacrificed the last 8 years of their lives, and often their families, to prove once and for all that sex is immutable, that being female is not a choice or an identity, but a biological fact. But I mainly know these valiant and gutsy women as tireless campaigners, not legal scholars, part of a huge and growing network of organisation and individuals who have forced this issue onto the agenda. We at the Academy Ideas have tried to help where we can, but I've looked on in awe at the solidarity, organisational prowess, passion and dedication of these campaigners, who have today shown the world that activism matters. You can change the public mood, and even the law, if you have the guts to fight back. But oh, such madness that so much time, energy, money and emotion has been expended on this elite, top-down hijacking of reality and our rights over the past decade. Those campaigners now need time to celebrate and lap up the plaudits and no doubt catch up on lost sleep. But we now must all help by ensuring we use this Supreme Court judgment to take on all those institutions, local councils, schools, universities, NHS trusts, sports bodies, service providers, professional associations, trade unions and news media who will need schooling on what this must mean for their discriminatory anti-woman policies. If someone is a man, male, however they identify, having a gender recognition certificate doesn't entitle that person to be in a woman's single-sex spaces. We need to strip out the poison of divisive identity ideology from public and private bodies and the way it has been used to chill free speech. But we also should avoid using the law as a stick to beat opponents or a crutch to avoid that hard work of winning arguments. We need to carry on persuading, engage in public debate and talk, especially to the younger generation who, let's be honest, our generation is socialised into believing that there is something progressive about the assertion that anyone is born in the wrong body. This is brilliant. I love the way Claire writes. It's marvellous. The warrior teachers are all about this. What's what they're about? They're about trying to explain this to people. The younger generation is going to have to be coaxed gently into understanding exactly why this is so bad, let alone the pile of gay people who seem to think that they still need to keep supporting these men. I think most of them are lost, but we shall see as time goes on. And I'll also be interested to hear more about the work of the warrior teachers in the coming weeks to see how they're getting on with talking to people to explain exactly how we got in this mess. We should use this legal decision as a useful tool, an ally, in exposing the smoke and mirrors of gender ideology and its regressive consequences. Call it a new phase of the culture wars. At least we have a warning shot that should force the government, both national and devolved, to get off that bloody identitarian fence and stop sneering at those courageous cultural warriors who are really the change makers. And yet Labour still needs some serious pressure to see through today's victory and make sure it is more than just a legalistic piece of paper. Harriet Harman's immediate post on X posed badly. Harman is supposed to be Labour's UK Special Envoy for Women and Girls, yet writes, single-sex spaces for women are important and can exclude trans women, but only where necessary. She seems to be interpreting the law to suit her own political prejudices and implying women's spaces are still not safe in the UK government hands. But that's tomorrow's fight. And we at the Academy of Ideas will be there all the way. For now, join me in a celebratory drink to our Scottish heroes and all those thousands of women who made today such a glorious day. Isn't that absolutely wonderful? Anyway, I just thought you should hear it. And on that note, go away. Stop bothering me. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.